If you've got a classic car and you want to give it a chance to stretch its legs, why not come and join me on my Classic Car Track Day at Blyton Park on August the 11th. It is open to all vehicles introduced by the year 2000, with some exceptions, like Cobra and GT40 replicas. It is a calm, relaxed day with like-minded people, kept to very low numbers on track with approximately 10 at a time maximum. Spaces are already beginning to sell, but we still have plenty available, and we'd love to see you. Tickets are just £199, including VAT, and that gets you your entry, free photography, free tuition, and a free sim rig challenge on the day as well. Follow the link in the description down below for details on this and other events we are running throughout the year. Hello everybody, the car I am driving today was built with near peerless ingredients. It combined one of the most successful sports car chassis of all time with thunderous American V8 power and beautiful Italian styling. It should have conquered the world. Instead, it's been forgotten. This is the AC 428, the son of the Cobra. And today I'm telling you why this is a seriously cool car. This is yet another one of those cars where researching it has been very difficult, because whenever I find one source on the car, it'll conflict with another. But what can I tell you? Well, this car is born out of the AC Cobra. See, that car conquered the early 1960s, but when the GT40 arrived, Ford very quickly fell out of love with the Cobra, instead focusing all of their attention on their new Le Mans competitor. Truth is though, AC already likely knew the Cobra was on borrowed time, because it was based on the Ace, which itself could trace its roots back to the early 1950s, and so they needed something to take them into the future. They partnered with an Italian coach builder called Frua, based in Turin, and what they did was took a Mark III Cobra, stretched it out by about 6 inches, and reclothed it in this beautiful body. Two styles were offered: the fastback coupe, as we have here, and the drophead coupe, which is a rather strange and old-fashioned way of saying convertible. The choice of powertrain, I think, was always going to be an easy one, the Mark III Cobra having been built to take the larger 7-litre 427 cubic inch Ford V8. And according to certain sources, that's what this car actually started life with, before then quickly moving onto the 428, from which it gets its name. Apparently, it was a slightly cheaper engine, though still not short on firepower, having 345 horses and a frankly staggering 642 pounds-feet of torque. That's well over 800 Newton meters. Today, that would be seriously impressive. Back then, frankly terrifying. Where things do start to get a little confusing are on the exact dates the car was in production, with some saying it landed back in 1965, though I believe far more likely is either 1967 or 1968. It then went on until, according to some sources, 1971 and others 1973, being killed by a combination of new crash regulations and the fuel crisis. This thing's juicy. Seriously juicy. The official figures place it somewhere in the teens in terms of MPG. In reality, it's probably not that good. Likely not helping is the gearbox. Apparently, the first handful of cars were built with a Ford 4-speed top-loader manual. The rest of them, though, were built with this C6, a 3-speed auto, also from Ford. And much as I might dislike it in principle, with so much shove and a relatively lightweight body, at least by modern standards, this weighs less than 1.5 tons, it doesn't have any trouble at all getting off the line. The quoted 0 to 60 time was just over 5 seconds. The top speed, 145. Inside, it is a strict 2-seater, though behind me you do have what looks a little bit like some rear seating. I really hope that isn't what they intended it for, because That's pretty rubbish, even by 1960s standards. This specific car came from 1972, and it was once the property of a lovely chap called Dave, who from youth had always lusted after the 428. And this really is the same kind of car that comes from the same school as things like the ESO, the Di Tommaso and the Monteverde, combining luxurious European elegance and styling with big, dependable American muscle. He also had a Jensen Interceptor, and it would appear cars are a family obsession, because this has been brought to me by his brother Michael, whose 355, 575 and VX220 I've already reviewed. But even in such illustrious company, the AC 428 is extraordinarily rare, with the company having produced just 81 examples during its production run. 51 of the coupe and 30 the convertible. Regrettably, Dave is no longer with us, having had a very short but intense battle with cancer that claimed his life last year. Mike has then taken custody of his cars and is currently preparing this for sale. But before it went, he wanted to bring it to me, and for that I am incredibly grateful. And I'm rather shocked, because I thought this would be worth a lot more than it actually is. Not that it's a cheap car, mind. There is currently one up for sale at £150,000. But given the rarity of it, the Cobra connection, and the fact it's just seriously cool, I'd have thought it'd be worth a lot more. Apparently, a few years ago they were, but as with the Jaguar E-Type and the Aston Martin, well, fans of these cars, they're disappearing, and with them, values are going down. It is, though, price, which is likely the reason you've never heard of this car. You see, back in 1968, when this definitely was on sale, because I managed to find it in Autocar, this would have set you back £5,500. For some context, an Aston Martin DB6 was £4,500. A Jaguar E-Type was half of that, at just over 2,200, and a Ford Escort was 450 quid. So this one car would have cost you an entire fleet's worth of Fords. And the reason for that price, well, the construction method was a little bit odd. The chassis was built here in England, then the thing was shipped over to Italy for the body to be put on, and then it was returned here to be finished and then sold. That's not exactly efficient. So truth be told, though the fuel crisis likely finished the car off, it was already on borrowed time. But today, over 5 decades later, what's it like? Well, I have to tell you, in a word, marvellous. The thing that amazes me is, although I know there's essentially a Cobra under here, it doesn't look or feel like one. Now, I've not driven an original Cobra, I've only driven replicas, but to sit in the thing, well, it feels very distinct. There's acres of vinyl in here, which on a nice warm day is a little bit uncomfortable. To help you hear what I'm saying, I've put the window up. That's very cool. Was that a Carlton? And the shove is ample. As with all old things like this, it doesn't go quite as well as you would expect it for the numbers, but you've got to remember it's an old school thing with no traction control, no stability control, and no ABS. What you do have, apparently, is power steering, though it doesn't feel very much like it, and it does have a limited slip differential. The gearbox too seems to be interested only in getting into third as quickly as it possibly can, but you can at least override it with the big fighter jet style lever down here. There is just one stalk on the right side of the wheel, which does your indicator and your horn. All right, let's try and put it down a couple of gears, see what performance we can get out of it. Yeah, £642 fee. I think somebody is fibbing. It does, however, have that big old school war drum soundtrack. I have also been told the speedo is quite optimistic. At what it says is 70, I'm really doing about 60. And it will get up to speed nicely. The handling too is pretty decent. I've actually got a fair amount of confidence in it. And that might be because, unlike many of its contemporaries, it has fully independent suspension. Up front, double wishbones, at the back, a slightly different arrangement, and that means it's fairly compliant and quite well composed. It's not a scary thing, this. Naturally, there's a fair bit of movement in the wheel, commonplace with cars of this era. Visibility is very good, the A-pillar's paper thin, the bonnet is superb, love the view out, and other than the fact I'm roasting to death in here while choking on petrol fumes, I could see you doing a big journey in this. And Dave did. This thing's been down to Italy, it's been to Switzerland, I know that because it's got Swiss road tax on it over there. He and Michael use their cars. The boot is a very generous size too, and very handy, because it does share a lot of parts with other vehicles, the Cobra and a number of different Fords. Even though it in of itself is very rare, you can still get bits for them. The AC Owners Club is very helpful and passionate about these things, and this is just such an awesome thing. To be able to see it out and about on the road and not tucked away in a museum, it's a treat. To be allowed to drive it is an absolute privilege. The downside, of course, of the rarity, when it comes to looking for little interesting facts and things to tell you, well, I didn't really get all that much. We did have a hell of a time this morning trying to open the bonnet. There's one release lever down there, and we spent ages looking for a second, only to then realise, no, that is the one and only. It just needed a little bit of help. There's a rod that connects the two sides, and evidently something's just slightly out of alignment. That's very cool. Is that a Carman gear? What a day to be out! Lotus Carlton back there, Carman gear. Had about 50 motorbikes pass me earlier. Many of them look like young people as well. You know, it's days like this give me real hope, you know. This afternoon I'm driving a Ford of a far more modern variety, a brand new Mustang Dark Horse. And that's going to be a very different experience, I know. This has been a real pleasant surprise. And very handily, only a few days ago, I actually drove a DB6. Now, by the time this car was built, the DBS was out. In fact, the DBS V8 was out. And those are better put together. They're a more common car too, though still, in of themselves, quite a rare thing. Performance on paper would have been similar, though when tested against the DB6, they found the top speed of that far superior to this. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to put the window down. Oh, in one direction it goes down very quickly. Oh, Lecky windows, right? That's posh for the 60s. Over some of those smaller but sharper ridges, the thing does struggle a little bit, and you can tell the whole package isn't the most rigid. But off the line, it's pretty brisk. It's long but narrow in classic GT style, meaning it's actually not that bad to drive on your modern day country B road. And other than the fact I'm being garroted by the seatbelt, it's quite comfortable. And though yes, it was more expensive than a DB6, it was still quite a bit cheaper than a contemporary Ferrari. Those were £8,500. And the DBS was also a bit more money too, at £5,700. Dave very clearly had a type for his cars, because conceptually this is very similar to the Interceptor. Having driven one of those, I can tell you, they're definitely better built, better put together. They also share the same formula of British chassis with American engine, and I think with both cars, the big thing to keep an eye on, it's cooling. The one and the only time I drove a Jensen Interceptor, it's let me down. Funnily enough, the very first time I saw a Jensen Interceptor on the road, at least that I can remember, it was at a car show, where it arrived looking like something from Stars in Their Eyes, appearing in a cloud of its own steam. Happily today, the majority of these cars have had those sorts of problems fixed, thanks to a combination of better cooling, new radiators, improved pipework, a little bit of modern knowledge, electric fans, etc, etc, etc. Ah, yes. Not the smoothest of shifts, that. With a bit more time, I know there's more performance to be had from this. I'm taking it easy, and yet still, I'm making very good progress. The AC 428, well, it may have been doomed from the off, but that doesn't make it bad. Anyway, I want to say a huge thank you to Dave for buying it, keeping it, loving it, to Michael for continuing the story, and to you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you for the next one. Bye-bye.